The atmosphere at Paradob High School that Friday afternoon was tense. Maggie stood by the staff room door, her hands folded. She was wearing a faded chocolate brown gown. It was the same gown she had worn on Monday and Tuesday, and for the last 6 months. "Look at her," a voice shouted from the corner of the staff room. It was Dessa, a fellow youth corper who acted like she was the assistant Jesus of Port Harcourt. Dessa was currently adjusting a wig that looked like it cost 3 months of her allowance. "The legendary only cloth corper? Maggie, I beg, tell us the truth. Is it that the cloth is glued to your skin, or you're doing a 365-day challenge for Guinness World Records?" The staff room erupted in laughter. Even the permanent teachers, who should have known better, hid their smiles behind their lesson notes. Maggie just smiled. It was a calm, serene smile that drove Dessa insane. "It's a comfortable dress, Dessa. You should try being comfortable sometime. It might help with that permanent frown on your face." "Comfortable," Dessa scoffed, walking toward Maggie to display her outfit, a neon green top paired with a skirt so tight it looked like she had been poured into it with a funnel. "My sister, it's called class. Some of us are born to shine. Others are born to be the rag we use to wipe the floor. You're lucky the principal hasn't reported you to the NYC state coordinator for looking like a refugee." Maggie didn't reply. She picked up her one bag, her movements slow and deliberate, ignoring the toxicity. For Maggie, this was her reality at Paradob High School. To the school, she was a stain on their prestigious reputation. Students made snide remarks when she passed. Teachers openly showed their disgust. Her fellow corps members were worse. Even the gate man found someone to look down on. He'd intentionally delay opening the gate, eyeing her worn sandals with a sneer of borrowed superiority. As she walked past the school gate that Friday afternoon, she stopped by a small wooden shed where the scent of fried plantain and jollof rice filled the air. "My daughter, you've come," Mama Kola said, her face lighting up with a genuine smile. She was a sturdy woman with hands roughened by years of hard work, but her eyes were the softest things in the world. She immediately began dishing a mountain of rice into a plate. "Mama Kola, I told you, I'll pay today," Maggie said, reaching into her small, worn-out purse. "Keep your money, Maggie," Mama Kola insisted, pushing the plate toward her. "I see you every day in this same cloth. Life is hard for you coppers who don't have anyone. Eat. My son Kola is in the university too. I pray someone feeds him when he is hungry." Maggie felt a lump in her throat. "Thank you, Mama." "Don't mind those girls in the staff room," Mama Kola whispered, leaning in. "Especially that one with the neon green clothes. She thinks she's a queen, but she doesn't know that pride goes before a fall. Just keep your head up." Maggie nodded, eating the delicious rice. If only Mama Kola knew. If only anyone in this school had a single clue who Maggie really is. 6 months earlier, the Coca Mansion in Banana Island, Lagos, Nigeria, was buzzing with the kind of energy only billions of naira could generate. Maggie, the last born of the legendary Tony Coca, the man who owned half the oil blocks in the South and 3/4 of the real estate in Lagos, was lounging on a velvet sofa. Her sisters, Tiffany and Brenda, were scrolling through their phones, discussing which private jet to take for their weekend trip to Paris. Maggie was a certified Gen Z baddie with a first-class degree in mathematics and a wardrobe that could fund a small country. But today, she was bored. "I'm tired," Maggie announced, tossing a grape into her mouth. "Tired of what?" Tiffany asked, not looking up from her Chanel catalogue. "The air conditioning, or is the Wi-Fi too fast for you?" "Tired of being Maggie Coca. Everywhere I go, people see the name before they see me. On camp, even the soldiers were saluting me because they knew Dad donated the new clinic. I want a real experience. I want to know if people can actually like me for me." Brenda laughed. "Maggie, you're a baddie. You can't go 5 minutes without someone noticing you. You carry the rich girl aura like a perfume." Maggie suddenly sat up, her eyes sparkling with a sudden idea. "Then I'll change the aura. I've been posted to Port Harcourt on my primary assignment, to Paradob High, One of Dad's schools. Nobody there knows what I look like. I'm going to go undercover. Undercover as what? A pauper, Tiffany joked. Exactly, Maggie snapped her fingers. I'll wear a simple outfit. No, even better, I'll wear the same outfit every single day. I want to see how the world treats a girl who has nothing but her brains. You won't last 2 weeks, Brenda bet. You love fashion too much. Watch more, Maggie said. 1 year, one cloth, a whole new world. Back in Port Harcourt, the whole new world was proving to be quite spicy. Dessa was the primary source of the heat. To the world, Dessa was a slay queen. She showed up to the school every day with a different high-fashion outfit. She bragged about her senator father and her Lagos big boy boyfriend. But Maggie had eyes like a hawk. She noticed things. She noticed that while Dessa wore 50,000 naira wigs, she never ate lunch. She noticed that at the end of the school day, while other teachers entered taxis or their cars, Dessa would wait until everyone had gone. Then she would begin a long, grueling trek towards the outskirts of town. One afternoon, Maggie was sitting behind a large umbrella at the back of Mama Cola's store, trying to fix a broken sandal. Suddenly, she heard a sharp, familiar voice. I told you never to call me when I'm at work. Maggie froze. That was Dessa. But Modupe, you haven't sent any money for 3 months, Mama Cola followed, sounding tired and heartbroken. The landlord is threatening to throw me out of the shop. I spent all my savings to pay for your final year project and your graduation clothes. I am struggling, my daughter. That is your business, Dessa hissed. Maggie peeked. Dessa was standing there, looking stunning in a pink top and black jeans, but her face was twisted in an ugly mask of rage. I told you my name is Dessa now. Don't call me Modupe, and never ever let any of those teachers know I am your daughter. Do you want to ruin my reputation? People think I am the daughter of a senator. But I am your mother, Mama Cola broke. A mother who fries plantain by the roadside? Dessa laughed mockingly. Please, just stay in your lane. I'll send you something when I get my allowance. But for now, I have to save for the end of year party. I need a new dress. Dessa turned and walked away, her heels clicking loudly on the pavement. Mama Cola sat down on a plastic stool, buried her face in her apron, and wept silently. Maggie sat in the shadows, her heart shattering for the woman who had been feeding her for months. Her only cloth experiment had revealed exactly what she wanted to see: the raw, unfiltered hearts of people. And Dessa's heart was as black as the soot on Mama Cola's pots. The end of service year arrived like a whirlwind. The atmosphere at Paradob High was electric. Paradob High didn't just pay well. They were known to retain the best 2 coppers every year as permanent staff. The starting salary, a staggering 700,000 naira a month, plus housing and a car allowance. In the Nigerian economy, that was basically like winning the lottery. Everyone was on their best behavior. Dessa was practically floating. She had spent her entire final month's allowance on a power outfit, a shimmering gold suit that screamed executive. This job is mine, Dessa told anyone who would listen in the staff room. The board of directors loves my style. They need someone who represents the brand of the school, not someone who looks like they're mourning their wardrobe. She threw a pointed look at Maggie, who was, as usual, in her chocolate brown gown. Maggie, why are you even bothering to apply for the interview? Another teacher asked. Even the cleaners have better fashion sense than you. You disgrace the panel. I think they will value my teaching record, Maggie said calmly. My students had the highest scores in the mock WAEC. Beauty and brains, Maggie. Beauty and brains, Dessa laughed. And you have neither. You're just only cloth. Actually, today I'll give you a parting gift. Dessa opened a large suitcase she had brought with her. It was filled with her bent-down select treasures, clothes she had carefully curated from the second-hand markets to look like designer wear. I am moving on to bigger things, Dessa announced, tossing a floral dress at Maggie. I'm giving all my old clothes away because once I sign that 700k contract today, I'm shopping in Milan. Keep this, Maggie. At least you can finally burn that brown rag. Maggie looked at the dress, her eyes cold. You are sure you want to give everything away, Dessa? The interview isn't over yet. Oh, please. I've already spoken to the principal. He said my vibe is perfect. Go and wash your worn cloth, Maggie. You'll need it for your bus ride back to whatever village you came from. The interview room was the height of luxury. The long glass table was occupied by the school's top executives. At the head of the table sat the chairman's seat, empty for now. Dessa went in first. She came out 20 minutes later, glowing. It went amazing. They asked about my influencer style and how I would improve the school's social media. The job is basically mine. Finally, it was Maggie's turn. Good luck, only cloth, Dessa whispered as Maggie walked in. As soon as the door closed, the atmosphere changed. The three executives at the table stood up immediately. Good morning, Miss Coker, the principal said, bowing slightly. Good morning, Saz and Ma, Maggie said, her voice no longer the soft, unassuming tone of a poor copper. It was the voice of a woman who had grown up in boardrooms. She didn't sit in the candidate's chair. She walked to the head of the table and sat in the chairman's seat. I've spent a year in this school, Maggie began, leaning back. I've seen the best and the worst of it. I've seen teachers who care, and I've seen teachers who only care about their Instagram feeds. Our only cloth copper experiment was very successful. The executives laughed nervously. We were worried when your father said you wanted to do this, Miss Maggie. We hope the staff treated you well. Some did, Maggie said, her eyes narrowing. Some did not. But we are here for business. I have the list of people I want retained, and I have a very special contract for Miss Mudupe Benson, popularly known as Dessa. An hour later, the candidates were gathered in the hall for the final announcement. The principal walked onto the stage holding a stack of envelopes. After careful consideration by the board and a representative of the Coker Group, we have selected our new permanent staff. Dessa was vibrating with excitement. She had already called 3 of her friends to tell them she was about to be a millionaire. First, for the position of senior mathematics teacher, Miss Maggie Coker. The room went silent. Coker? Maggie walked onto the stage, but she wasn't the Maggie they knew. She had gone into the principal's private lounge and changed. She was now wearing a white silk jumpsuit that probably cost more than the principal's car. Her hair was pulled back in a sleek ponytail, and the diamonds in her ears caught the light, nearly blinding the front row. Dessa's jaw hit the floor. Maggie Coker? And for our second retention, the principal continued, his voice echoing, Miss Modupe Benson. Dessa screamed. She literally jumped up and down. She screamed, I got it, 700,000 naira. I told you all. She ran onto the stage, nearly tripping over her own feet. She grabbed the envelope from the principal, blowing him a kiss. Maggie stepped forward, a microphone in her hand. Congratulations, Dessa. Or should I say Modupe? Why don't you open your offer letter? Let's celebrate your new salary. Dessa, hand shaking with greed, tore the envelope open. She scanned the document, looking for the numbers. Her eyes found the salary line. She froze. The color drained from her face. Wait, There's a mistake, she stammered. It says 20,000 naira. This is a typo. It's supposed to be 700,000 naira. The crowd gasped. 20,000 naira? That was less than the NYSC allowance. There's no mistake, Maggie said, her voice amplified through the speakers, cool and cutting. I personally drafted that contract this morning. What power do you have to do that? Dessa shrieked, her it-girl persona crumbling. You're just a corper. My father is the owner of this school, Modupe, Maggie said, stepping closer. My father is Tony Coca, and while I was wearing my only cloth, I learned a lot. I learned that you are a brilliant teacher, yes, but I also learned that you are a daughter who treats her mother like trash. I heard you, Modupe. I heard you telling Mama Kola never to call her your daughter. I saw you let her cry while you spent her hard-earned money on bend-down select clothes to impress people who don't even like you. The hall was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. I met with my father, Maggie continued. I told him I wanted to reward Mama Kola for her kindness to me. See, while you are mocking me, your mother was feeding me for free. She was the only person who saw a human being instead of a poor girl. So here is the deal. Your salary is indeed 700,000 naira, but 680,000 naira of that will be paid directly into a new business account for Mama Kola every month for the next 2 years. You cannot do that, Dessa screamed. I can. If you don't agree, you're free to leave, Maggie smiled. The money will go towards building Mama Kola a beautiful bungalow and starting the largest restaurant in Port Harcourt. You will receive 20,000 naira, enough for your transport and maybe one bend-down select blouse a month. Dessa looked around the room. Everyone was staring at her with disgust. She remembered the suitcase of clothes she had given away earlier. She realized with a sickening jolt that she literally had nothing left to wear but the gold suit on her back. And one more thing, Maggie said, leaning in close so only Dessa could hear. Since you gave all your clothes away today, I guess you're the new only cloth. I hope the gold suit is comfortable. You will be wearing it for a long time. 2 years later, the grand opening of Kola's Kitchen was the event of the year in Port Harcourt. It wasn't a roadside shack. It was a magnificent glass-fronted restaurant in the heart of the city. Mama Kola stood at the entrance, wearing a stunning George lace wrapper, looking every bit like the queen she was. A sleek black SUV pulled up, and Maggie stepped out. She was dressed in a simple but impossibly elegant sundress. She had also contributed to the building of the restaurant. She hugged Mama Kola tightly. Thank you, my daughter, Mama Kola whispered, tears of joy in her eyes. My life has changed. My son is finishing his master's abroad. I have a roof over my head. You earned it, Mama, Maggie said. They walked to the kitchen area. There, scrubbing a large pot with sweat pouring down her face, was Dessa. She was wearing a faded red gown. Dessa didn't complain. She couldn't. The contract was strict, and the lesson had been harder. She had spent 2 years wearing the same 3 outfits, learning the value of a kobo and the weight of her mother's sacrifice. Maggie walked over to the kitchen counter. How's the work going, Modupe? Maggie asked. Dessa looked up. The pride was gone. In its place was a quiet, tired humility. The pots are clean, Maggie. And I'm going to use my 20,000 naira this month to buy Mama a gift for the opening. Maggie smiled. A real warm smile. Good. It looks like the only cloth lifestyle actually suits you. Maggie walked back to her car, her heart light. She had come to Port Harcourt looking for an experience, but she had found something better. She had found that while clothes can hide a person's body, it's their character that eventually strips them naked. As she drove away, she caught her reflection in the mirror and winked. The baddie was back, but this time it was a baddie with a purpose. And somewhere in the distance, the spirit of the only cloth corper lived on, not as a joke, but as a legend of justice.